So I think by now most of Winnipeg has heard about what's happened to your mom. I'm wondering, first of all, as a son, what did that feel like to watch your mom go through this?
Well, it's an interesting thing to watch. I mean, they actually this person, I think that they were identified as being from Australia, actually also tried to contact us. They were kind of pretty invasive from the beginning, and I think they tried to do it in a more legitimate looking way in the beginning by asking Wilma if she could kind of talk to me. Maybe even Wilma, I think, even suggested talking to me at some point. Kind of, hey, you should go to Oakville. Should go see Dr. Syras or one of the clinicians there. And but then later also she was contacting us more directly, trying to find our phone number and things like that. Fortunately, it didn't go anywhere, but it is hard to watch. I mean, you worry about these things, people being in the public eye. My mother is such a caring, giving person,
Mhm.
and so she will kind of go above and beyond, and in that way is the kind of person that can kind of get caught up in something like this. Not that she did anything wrong, but she can kind of give her heart to people, and then if that person is coming from a bad place, it can be a really hard thing to watch.
I'm wondering about your input as a psychologist and a pastor, like about boundaries. How do we know when to say no and not? I was in pastoral ministry for 10 years and even still in radio ministry. People reach out, and if I say no, I'm overwhelmed with guilt, right? When is it
Mm.
okay to say no, or how do we set those boundaries and things like that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, actually, when I talk to Christians in as a role as pastor or in a role as a psychologist, I often have to talk about boundaries, particularly with Christians. Christians have a lot of trouble with boundaries because it feels like it's not a Christian thing to do, and
Right.
it feels like we need to kind of be everything for everybody. And I don't actually believe that that's biblical at all. I think that Jesus had different circles. He had kind of the larger community that he never talked to, people around the world at the time. He had people who were in his kind of following, who he explained the parables to, or he told the parables to. Then he had his 12 who he explained the parables to, and then he had like the three at the Mount of Transfiguration. Then he had the kind of leaders of the day that he kind of chastised. So he loved everybody, but he had different levels
Hmm.
of intensity in that relationship with different people. And we need to know that, because we're not built to love everybody. We're not built to serve everybody. We're built to serve the people that God calls us to. And so yeah, we need to manage that and kind of try to do that in a way that is loving and respects people, but it can be hard.
I think one of the like you said, your mom didn't do anything wrong, right? One of the things that stuck out to me though is once it got to a certain level, she realized, oh, I'm not equipped to help you actually. So you should be getting help from somebody else. And that's
Mhm.
maybe a good reminder for a lot of us to do what we're equipped for only.
That's right. I mean, even within the healthcare system and within pastoral ministry, there's different levels of intensity, and there's different places that are equipped to do different things. Like even within our clinic where we see people for therapy, we're not an emergency service, we're not an urgent care. And so if you're doing that, you need to go to this other service. And so I do think it's okay and appropriate to kind of realize what you can do and then pass that care on to others when it's needed.
Is it possible, say we're somebody like your mom or my wife who have just these huge hearts, is it possible to care too much for people? Like, can it actually end up damaging ourselves if we're always giving ourselves to others?
I think so. I think that I think it can be hard to make those boundaries. It can be hard to also see ourselves and know what we're capable of. I mean,
Mm.
we're human beings. We have limitations on what we're able to do, and if we don't respect that, we can kind of be hurt. Because when we empathize, I mean, we can do cognitive empathy where we just understand where somebody's going and what they're feeling and experiencing. We kind of appreciate that. But then there's also contagion where you actually experience what other people are experiencing when they're in it. And
Right.
when you have that contagion, and some people are very high in it, which is a wonderful thing for relationships, but if you're high in contagion, it wears you out, and you need to watch yourself and be careful and connect yourself with a prayer team, connect yourself with other people who can help, and you can pass things on to and talk it over with. Because when you're in contagion, when you experience that, you're actually experiencing some level of that more yourself. And so you have to watch that because yeah, just like they're struggling, you can get to a place where you're struggling as well.
Kind of, I think I've heard of compassion fatigue. So you start experiencing that kind of thing, I
Mm.
guess.
Yeah, compassion fatigue, like the wounded healer. You're
Mm.
experiencing these things that other people are going through. And I mean, with my therapist in particular that work with me, And in the clinic, like some of them have a lot of contagion, and it's kind of like, okay, well, we have to manage this. We have to watch how many hours you're doing. We have to watch kind of the cases, and you have to make sure you have people to talk to and people to pray with and things like that. Because it can wear a person, it can lead to burnout, and then you can end up being the person who's needing care rather than the person who's giving it.
Tell us a little bit about your church. How can we take in church with you folks?
Well, right now we are broadcasting. We just got back into Park Theater. We're broadcast from Park Theater. We meet in Park Theater, and they've been going through a lot of renovations, but we're back in there. So we are doing our online services there. We're probably going to have some worship nights as well. We're not exactly sure where and when yet, but if you want to connect with us, you can always go to our website, maplecrestchurch.ca, or you can go Facebook, Instagram, things like that, and you can find us. And we're on Sundays at 10 a.m.
Perfect. Dr. Syras, thanks so much for joining us today.
Great to be here. Thanks.